Good evening, Trinidad and Tobago. I'm Verna Bharath. This is TTT News. It's time for the headlines. Government seeks to enhance sea-draw sport in effort to secure border. Attorney General refutes opposition allegations over a secret deal in the leasing of a property in St. Clair. Assurance there's to be no retrenchment of permanent staff at the Judiciary. And in sport, TT Warriors ready for tomorrow's acid test against Wales. Government is seeking to strengthen the country's capabilities to secure its borders. One area being given particular attention is the port facilities in Cedros, which are shared among Customs, Immigration, Coast Guard and the police. During a visit to Cedros today, National Security Minister Stuart Young praised the various arms of national security for their efforts in protecting the country's maritime borders. Ian Wason has more.
South Trinidad, especially the quiet village of Cedros, has been in focus lately, with more Venezuelans coming to this country for supplies or even in search of a better life. This has prompted government to try and strengthen the Coast Guard and immigration facilities in the Southwest Peninsula. National Security Minister Stuart Young, along with MP for Point Fortin Housing Minister Edmund Dillon, visited the facilities on Tuesday. Mr. Young shared with reporters what he found during the visit.
Some of the issues that were raised, I am going to be able to address very, very quickly in terms of finding more room for immigration services and basically assisting the other services down here.
Apart from the legal ports of entry, the government is also paying attention to those areas where people have been seeking illegal entry. Mr. Dillon, a former National Security Minister himself who was also once in charge of the Defence Force, shared some knowledge of measures needed to protect citizens.
Not only to the officers who work here in terms of the joint station that we are in, the Customs, the Immigration, the Coast Guard and the police, but also to look at, since this is an official port of entry, we also have to address the issues of passengers going and coming.
Before heading to Cedros, both ministers visited the Point Fortin fire station. Ian Wason, TTT News.
Deputy Leader of the United National Congress, Julian John, has accused the government of taking away income from small businesses by implementing a new cut-off time for the Carnival celebrations. Earlier this month, Minister of National Security, Stuart Young, announced that new off times for the Carnival festivities would be implemented in 2020 to ensure the safety and security of citizens. Addressing a UNC Monday night forum, Ms. John said there will be considerable economic loss.
I advise them to go and explain that to citizens whose very existence depend on these 3 hours spanning from Fantastic Friday to Carnival Tuesday. They have referenced a change in the mood after dark, but that air, sir, or sirs, is the air of desperation, because for the people who traditionally make a living by hustling the Carnival, there is a correlation between their survival and those last 3 busy hours, which in the time...
Minister of Health Terence Leasing says proper protocols are being followed after the deaths of 2 children in South Trinidad from suspected cases of meningitis. One of the children was a 5-year-old student of the 5th Company Baptist Primary School in Moruga. Minister Leasing, responding to a question in the Senate on Tuesday, said the school has been sanitized and the Ministry of Health is educating the public about the signs and symptoms of meningitis.
Chemoprophylaxis, where you determine the most at-risk persons who were in contact with those 2 children to give them antibiotics to prevent them contracting meningitis, if that is the cause. That has been done. We have given chemoprophylaxis to 29 individuals. And the 4th pillar around which we stop an epidemic is vaccination.
Minister Leasing said there is no one vaccine for the 15 causes of meningitis, but noted children are immunized for 2 of those causes before being admitted to primary school. He pointed out that principals are supposed to check vaccination cards of all students before they enter schools. The health minister extended condolences to the families.
I wish to express our deepest condolences to the families of 2 individuals, 2 young children, age 4, one was not in school yet, and one age 5, for the passing of those these two precious lives. One can only imagine what their parents and families are going through, and we condole with them.
Attorney General Faris Al-Rawi says there will be no retrenchment of permanent staff at the judiciary. His statement comes in the wake of protest action on Monday by employees of the judiciary led by President of the Public Services Association, Watson Duke. The Attorney General, in response to a question in the Senate from opposition Senator Wade Mark, condemned the action by the PSA leader.
I take this opportunity to condemn, in the most straight of terms, the panic that is being put out by a politician who wears the hat as the President of the Public Services Association. There is, in the expansion of the criminal division, the creation of a number of posts, employment opportunities, and a betterment for the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago in the arena that is the criminal justice arena.
The Attorney General said the PSA has been fully engaged in the restructuring process and there was proper consultation and documentation shared with the relevant parties.
It is a fact of law that permanent workers, which is whom the Public Services Association represents, cannot be dismissed. That is a fact of law that they must be put elsewhere into the public service if that were to be the case. Again, I am pleased to repeat, in answer to a sitting politician wearing the hat of PSA head, there are no dismissals, there's an expansion of the judiciary.
And remember, you can also keep up to date with the latest stories on Facebook and Twitter at TTT Live Online. More to come. Stay with us.
Says informative can be fun. Smile now every morning with Lisa, Rishi, and Carrie as they keep you in the know with what's trending on social media and bring you updates from the worlds of current affairs, sport, technology, and much more. Start your day right and be in the know with what's happening now. Now, shaping tomorrow today. Mondays to Fridays at 6 a.m. on TTT, Talk City 91.1 FM, and streaming live on Facebook at TTT Live Online.
With barely 2 days to adjust to the cold and wet conditions in Britain, the TNT footballers will try to put all of that behind them as they tackle Wales on Wednesday from 3:45 p.m. After a long flight over from Tobago, the home-based players hooked up with the overseas-based stars and immediately took to the field in Everton Football Club, where national coach Dennis Lawrence was once an assistant coach. The players were diligently going through their paces as they looked to get up to speed ahead of the monster clash with 19th-ranked Wales, a team preparing for their European Championship qualification series and in need of a good result.
The guys have been anticipating the game for quite some time, and you could tell by the session yesterday that everybody is looking forward to the game, and just looking forward to giving a good showing.
There is wide interest in the game, as a good showing by any player could open the eyes of scouts who are almost always around looking for fresh talent. But with the Gold Cup, the main focus for Trinidad and Tobago, Wednesday's friendly, is just the first outing for this year. But they know it will not be an easy outing.
And when you look at their squad, they have a strong squad. So it tells that they come in for results and not for a friendly game. And it's the same for us. We want a result, a positive result, and we're going to do everything to get it.
The saying, who laughs last, laughs best, rings true in this situation as former TNT and West Indies opener Phil Simmons is set for a hefty windfall courtesy Cricket West Indies. According to ESPN Cricinfo, Cricket West Indies has been forced to admit liability, a claim they subsequently denied in a case brought against them by Simmons for unfair dismissal as West Indies coach. Simmons, the current Afghanistan coach, has claimed damages of more than US $300,000, with a final sum to be agreed at a court date in Antigua on March 26th. CWI is hoping to agree a fee before that, however. Simmons was sacked in September 2016, having complained publicly about interference from outside in the selection of sides. The timing of the news could cause considerable embarrassment and perhaps damage to the current CWI president, David Cameron, who is up for re-election on March 24th. Simmons' case comes on the heels of another CWI settlement with another fired coach in Otis Gibson, who pocketed US $300,000 recently. The Trinidad and Tobago national women's cricket team made it 2-2 with a resounding victory over the Leeward Islands as action continues in the Colonial Medical Insurance Super 50 Cup tournament over in Guyana. After a big win over the host nation on Sunday, Marissa Aguilera again led her team to victory, this time over the Leeward Islands at the GCC in Georgetown. Trinidad and Tobago beat the Leeward Islands by 6 wickets after bowling out their opponents for just 76, with Leandra Ramdeen 4 for 12, Karishma Ramharak 3 for 23 in destructive mode. When TNT batted, they cruised home, reaching 79 for 4 off 17 overs, with Felicia Walters 32 making certain for the victory. In table tennis news, Brittany Joseph showed who's boss in the classified singles title with a straight sets win over a game Gaishan Lachman of UWI. But as we hear from Ruskin Mark, Joseph's Queen's Park teammate Shamar Britton couldn't get the job done against a fit and ready Aaron Wilson, who cupped the men's title out at Tacarigua.
After Brittany Joseph gave the Parkites the ladies singles title, it was now the men's turn to see if they could make it a double for the Oval outfit. And their main hope was the Guyanese-born Shamar Britton, who took a 2-0 lead on Curtis Humphreys in their quarterfinal encounter. But Humphreys would start quickly in the third, hoping to avoid being swept in straight sets. He would jump out to a convincing 5-1 lead, cashing in when Britton's forehand flashes wide. Meanwhile, in another quarterfinal encounter, Anson Wellington of Hawks was up 2-1 on Luco Young of Blasters, looking to close him out. He was up 10-8 and got the job done when Young found the net to gift him the point for an 11-8 victory in the third set to prevail 10-12, 11-9, 11-5 and 11-8 for a 3-1 victory. Back on table 1, Britton wasn't going away quietly and fought his way back to 7-6 to keep the pressure on Humphreys. Eventually, Humphreys would take the set as he ran off a string of points to close it out in style for an 11-7 final score to make it 2-1 now. He would keep up the pressure in the fourth as this one went down to the wire. They were tied at 7 apiece, again at 8-all, 9-all and 10-all. Then Britton reeled off the next 2 points to secure the win. He would also take on Anson Wellington in the semis to advance to the finals, where he was a slight favorite. But he ran into a red-hot Aaron Wilson, arguably the most talented local male at present. Wilson also knocked off another super-talented youngster in Arun Rupnaran 3-1 to set up this monster clash that has been brewing for some time in tennis circles. But with the scores at 3-2, Britton injured himself when he served too close to the table and jarred his wrist in the process. It would play a part the rest of the way. Wilson, though, was only too willing to take advantage as he pressed on the gas. He took it 11-9 for a 1-0 lead. It got even worse for Britton in the second set when Wilson stormed out to a big lead. He would take the second set even more convincingly at 11-3 for a 2-0 cushion. The third was a lot closer as Britton found a second wind and kept it close at 9-7. But Wilson was too good on the day and closed it out at 11-9 for a bagel, winning it 11-9, 11-3 and 11-9 for the 3-0 win. Ruskin Mark, TTT Sports.
The excitement was right up as the much-anticipated Calvin Nanku Milo Games West took place at the Hazley Crawford Stadium. A large and enthusiastic crowd was on hand to witness day one of the games, and they weren't disappointed. They saw some amazing running from these highly talented youngsters, many of whom are certain to become household names in the near future. The competition was stiff and runners laid it on the line for their respective schools, and no one could dispute their guts and determination. Not everyone could win, but the ones who did, like Hakin Salandi and Nicholas Shepard, certainly covered themselves in glory, as they have the hardware to prove that they took care of business at the Hazley Crawford Stadium. When the dust cleared, Diamond Vale government were the big winners again this year, but finished second in the March pass to Patna River Estate. Day 2 will feature the East schools, and more excitement is on the cards. More to come. Stay with us.
Welcome to our Lipton Tea Factory. Here we work together with nature. Our irrigation system, the rain. Our light source, the sun, soaks the leaves with 4,000 hours of sunshine. And when we pick the mother peak of freshness, we put that sunshine into your cup of Lipton tea for a rich, natural taste and aroma.
The weather is brought to you in part by the Water and Sewerage Authority. Water, use what you need.
Very little moisture is around Trinidad and Tobago at this time. We have a thick Saharan dust across the southern Windward Islands and extending up to the Leeward Islands as well. This thick dusty haze is obviously causing issues for those with asthma as well as pollen allergies. And that's because the Saharan dust being blown from Africa contains pollen, fungi, bacteria and pollutants. It does have one good thing about it, is that it tends to feed the Amazon rainforest with essential nutrients. So as you go through the next few days, obviously take the necessary precautions, but bearing in mind that the dust does have its uses. You can just see here in the satellite picture the very thin layer, very hazy conditions. That's the Saharan dust. It extends all the way across to Africa, which means we're not out of the woods yet for the Saharan dust as you go through the next few days. Now, bearing in mind that as the winds do come through, the intensity of the dust will fluctuate. You will notice some dense periods at times, possibly some thinning as we go through a few days as well. But overall, we should be out of this dusty haze once we get to late Friday and going into Saturday. But for those across Tobago and parts of Trinidad as well, dull, hazy skies for most of you as you go through your morning. There is a medium chance of a shower or two, but it won't be enough to wash out that thick Saharan dust as you go through your afternoon for both North Trinidad, Central, as well as Southern Trinidad as well. So for San Fernando, a few early morning showers, generally cloudy, but still quite hazy and dull as you end your day. Temperature-wise, by night, 23 degrees Celsius for Trinidad, 24 the minimum in Tobago, 30 will be their high, and 32 likely in Trinidad. The Saharan dust will still remain with us on a Thursday, and then on Friday it begins to get pushed out of the way. There's a bit of cloudiness, some moisture expected. Could be seeing a low-level trough as well as a little shear line coming through, so that will likely increase the chances of some showers through Friday and Saturday, but again, nothing significant as we go through this harsh, dry season. For those heading offshore, if you're looking to beat the heat at the beaches, there's still a slight chop out there, just 1 to 1.5 meters to the Caribbean. Further afield, 2 meters likely in the Atlantic, and northeasterly swells of 8 seconds. And the flags will continue to flap in those easterly winds as you go through your Wednesday. Now, for bathers, notice that the high tides will be higher than normal due to the full moon. One is at 4 p.m. and then you've got your low tide at 9:45 a.m. Now, across the Eastern Caribbean, it remains mostly settled, dull and hazy under that Saharan dust. Up towards the north through the Bahamas, we could be seeing an area of low pressure forming there. Likelihood of some showers that could turn heavy, pushing through into Cuba and into the Cayman Islands. So we could be seeing some rather wet weather coming out of that. But on the other side of that frontal system, it remains sunny and dry for Jamaica, partly hazy at times for Santo Domingo, and only a few clouds likely for Port-au-Prince, highs of 33 degrees Celsius. But the Saharan dust remains the main story from the Leeward Islands coming all the way down to the Windward Islands, particularly thick around the Barbados, St. Vincent and Grenada. It will begin to thin at times around Georgetown, but still quite dusty for them as they go through their Wednesday and Thursday. So that's your weather, and that's it from me.
The weather was brought to you in part by the Water and Sewerage Authority. Water, use what you need.
The season of Lent is a 40-day pilgrimage. And prayer, along with fasting and almsgiving, is one of the three pillars that draws us closer to God. TTT News examined this phenomenon with Deacon Michael Trestrill, who tells us that at the heart, prayer is a move closer to the Creator.
Prayer is a dialogue. I think it's a communion. It's the way that I build my relationship with God, So even the words that I use, it's not just telling God what I want or what I need or what I think He should do in my life. It's about using words to draw closer to God, to deepen that relationship.
Deacon Michael Trestrill says there are different types of prayer, but one we can all relate to is sitting with God without words.
It's silence. Spending time, just no words, no talking, just being present to God. It could happen in nature, it could happen in a church, it could happen just in a prayer space in your home, but just spending some time to say to God, I am here, you are here, I'm present.
Although most people pray every day, there is a special significance of this habit in Lent.
Every year in Lent, what we try to do is we look at our lives to see how have I slipped away or what in my life needs strengthening. And so prayer in this season is really about looking at the areas of my life where I need to grow closer to God and spending time talking to God about it, praying through those things. So whatever's coming up, the struggles of the fast, the struggles of the almsgiving. So prayer is a place where we bring everything that we're doing in the Lenten period to God.
We end our reflection on Lenten prayer by actually engaging in the holy ritual.
And so, loving God, we thank you for the gift of this Lenten season, the opportunity to draw closer to you, to spend time with you in prayer, to see ourselves and to allow you to speak your words of love over our lives. We pray that in this Lenten period that we will be able to really reflect on the death of your Son and all that it means for us so that we may experience new life with Him, who lives and reigns with you and the Holy Spirit, one God, forever and ever. Amen. Amen.
Mary-Therese Bernard, TTT News.
Here are the details of the day's market activity on the Trinidad and Tobago Stock Exchange.
Trading on the Trinidad and Tobago Stock Exchange produced a volume of 306,902 shares with a traded value of $6,299,870.46. Trinidad Cement Limited was the volume leader with 111,529 stock units changing hands. Investors bought and sold the stocks of 13 companies, with 5 increasing, 2 declining, and 6 ending the day unchanged. The composite and the all-TNT indices declined, while the cross-listed index advanced.
More to come. Stay with us.
Who cares?
Who cares?
Who really cares?
Who cares? I care, because I know that tobacco use is the single largest preventable cause of cancer-related deaths worldwide. Smoking cigarettes has been found to harm almost every organ and organ system in your body. You can do something about that. Don't smoke. If you do, stop. I care because cancer doesn't.
Attorney General Faris Al-Rawi has rejected any allegations by opposition leader Kamla Persad-Bissessar, who claims that there is a conflict of interest between the government and the leasing of a property located at number 3 Alexandra Street, Sinclair. On Monday night, the opposition leader said a cabinet note was approved to allow the lease of the office building, which is owned by the Attorney General Faris Al-Rawi and his wife. Marie Hull reports.
Speaking at a Monday night forum in Tunapuna, opposition leader Kamla Persad-Bissessar called on the police and the Integrity Commission to investigate the government's rental of a building owned by Attorney General Faris Al-Rawi and members of his family. She said the property located at number 3 Alexander Street in Sinclair is registered in the company's registry under the name Zaman Enterprise Limited.
According to the documents I'm holding, the cabinet led by the Prime Minister, they agreed to lease this property, number 3 Alexander Street, Sinclair, for the price of $644,000 per month.
When TTT News contacted the AG, he confirmed that he was indeed a shareholder of the building and said in 2012 the then Minister of Housing, Dr. Rudal Munilal, had expressed desire to rent the same building.
But in the year that it took the Cabinet in considering this matter, at all points in time, I recused myself, took no part in any meetings, left the room, and the minutes will all demonstrate the propriety of those actions. In this scenario, the genuine question is, was there a declaration of interest? Was there a recusal? Those are the requirements of law. Mrs. Prasad-Bissessar has also failed to inform the country that she presided over the granting of leases for properties owned by cabinet ministers in her own cabinet.
The Attorney General said he has asked his attorneys to review the opposition leaders' statements. Marie Hall, TTT News.
National Security Minister Stuart Young says he's disappointed that President of the Fire Service Association, Leo Ramkissoon, complained to the media that the fire service is facing a collapse instead of coming to him. Mr. Ramkissoon had said only 6 fire stations are in a condition to serve the Northern Division. Minister Young addressed the issue while in Cedros as he visited the Immigration and Coast Guard facilities.
The first that I had seen and heard some of these complaints from the fire services from Mr. Leo Ramkissoon was on television last night. And that is not the way I like to do business. What I ask of all of the services, and all of them have been working along with me, is speak to me first, communicate with me.
He said the situation could have been handled better.
Mr. Ramkissoon has my cell number. He had been communicating with me via text message and WhatsApp and stuff before. That has not happened within recent times. At the end of the day, persons are entitled to take what action they want.
The Copyright Music Organization of Trinidad and Tobago, COT, is seeking to expand its services by allowing producers and performers to get their work copyrighted with COT. This will be facilitated by the signing of a Memorandum of Agreement with the International Federation of Phonographic Industry.
In the Music Rights Administration in Trinidad and Tobago, as COT continues to strive towards making the business of music convenient and economically viable for both the creators and the users of music.
Regional Director of IFPI, Javier Asensio, said he is pleased to partner with COT and by extension Trinidad and Tobago for this agreement.
Happy to help and to assist the performers in Trinidad and Tobago, the producers of this country, to find a way in which they can be a recognition of the use of their job, their investment, and they are finally get a remuneration for the work that is done.
That's a wrap on this evening's TTT News. On behalf of all of us here, I'm Verna Bharath. Have a good night.